And going into, these and my rhinos and my silly characters gave me a way to kind of just a lot at and get back to what made me happy, what brought joy. And I just put faith, like, if that gives me a smile, then hopefully someone else a smile.
You are listening to the Artist King Podcast. I am your host, DTM of DeltaTangoMike.com. The Artist King Podcast features artists, entrepreneurs, and business coaches who share their knowledge, expertise, and resources to provide insight into the ways we can find our own personal success with our creative talents. David Cohen is an artist, designer, futurist, and poet who, once you get to know, you will call him Doodleslice. I met Doodleslice at Hodgepodge Coffeehouse when he was installing an art exhibit with over 1,000 works. I still want to do one of those myself. I then interviewed Doodleslice for the Artist King Podcast, and we had a great time talking about art. Now, in 2023, it is time to catch up with his latest works in poetry, NFTs, and the art life. Hello, Doodleslice. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Yes, it's great to see you also and have you in the Artist King Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Please tell us your name and where are you from?
Okay, so if you're going to look at the corner of my artwork, you're going to see Doodleslice, and that's how I sign my art and my poems. But Mom calls me David, and I grew up in New Jersey, New York, and Baltimore, and came here to Atlanta, 1996. I missed the Olympics. I came right after the Olympics. And
Okay.
yeah, just been in Atlanta, transplant, carpetbagger, whatever you want to say. Doing my thing here for a long
Been here a long time. So of all the places that you lived, do you think you lived in Atlanta the longest?
Oh, yeah. I mean, before that, the longest was New Jersey, but I've definitely been here longer than that. So,
Yeah, it's kind of weird
we went from young bucks
to right. You're right. You became an OG in here in the ATL. And I'm born and raised in East LA. I lived in Mexico City. I lived up and down the West Coast. Was in the Marine Corps, and then I finally settled in Atlanta. But I've been in Atlanta longer than I've been anywhere else. And but I still kind of feel like home is LA.
Yeah, I mean, home's the house I grew up in. Can't believe it. My mom's still there. And I still got family up that way. So
Nice.
But at the same time, home is here.
Right. It's here, yeah, because we made it here. So tell us about your art and art career. Let's go all the way back into the past when you first thought and realized your talents or thought that you had an inkling as to what you wanted to do with your art.
Cool.
Tell us about that.
Well, if you want to go back to ancient history, I think I actually avoided art a little bit as a kid because big sister was into. And, you don't want to be following your big sister's coattails. And she went on to be a very talented interior designer. But so I was a math major. And about halfway through college, I was playing Frisbee and I caught a tree instead of the Frisbee, got a concussion, and decided an artist. And I wandered into a drawing class. I fell in love, and back then I was doing tons of figure drawing. Wouldn't necessarily know it now to look at what I do, but that's where I started, and then was printmaking for a little while, just because there was a teacher I really liked who was name was Fred Hagstrom, who was awesome. And then I went back to New Jersey for a while, and there's a college there, Montclair State, which is kind of a hidden gem. If you're in New Jersey, and you might want to check it out. I mean, I haven't been there in a long time, but close to New York City, that a lot of New York art critics would come visit this little art program in New Jersey. So we got to meet with some people who were, at the time. And back then, I started exploring a lot of different kind of postmodern work. I was doing this series of American flags, and I started taking them off the canvas and working on unprimed material and pouring paint and getting very fluid with the gestures and doing these, they would be like 6 foot by 12 foot banners painted on both sides. And I'd put grommets in them, so you'd hang them up different ways. And so I went from that, ended up getting in the MFA program in Baltimore at the Maryland Institute, and studied with Grace Hartigan, who is an amazing painter who I butted heads with pretty much the whole time. And a fellow who's still around, Archie Rand, who's a New York painter, really talented guy. And fortunately, he and I kind of clicked. That man, like a walking encyclopedia of art history, music history, poetry history. I mean, just unbelievable. And so he could look at anything and tell you a million references to look up, and you'd go look them up and be like, he's right on the money. And that's what I was doing in Baltimore. And, I was also trying to eke out a living web design really early. Mosaic brings a bell to anybody. Long before Chrome was even conceived of. And that got me into a company that I bought, and that company brought down to Atlanta, and that's how I ended up here. And so I was, sort of had a foot in the court with my own stuff on the side, and then rolled the dice on a few startups, which almost made it, but didn't make it. And just decided, I really wanted to focus more on my art after all that, blood, sweat, and tears not taking me where I thought it would go. And so really have been, I still do some things on the side, like, design, graphics, illustration, copywriting, build websites, but I paint, I draw, I do work with 3D models. I write a lot of poetry, and dabble a little in the I know it's a dirty word, but NFTs, and just I try to stay current, try to understand what's happening, but at the same time, try to do my own thing. And I think my style's a little idiosyncratic, and but I think an underlying current couple things. From the early days, I brought some of that flow and gesture, but I brought it down to this really small level because I started working really small after working giant for a long time. Very influenced by Asian approaches to composition, actually coming out of Ikebana, which is a Japanese style of flower arrangement. And because my father was into that back in the, and cartoons. I grew up on cartoons, love cartoons. Like the kids today grow up on manga and game art and stuff. For me, it was in Tex Avery, and so I kind of leaned into a very heavy-handed, heavy outline cartoon style, and then started to break that apart. So I went from postmodern to like this kind of very non-objective abstract period to the cartoon. And now I just try to pull all those elements together, and working a lot digitally these days, between a TED and, but I still get messy.
That's awesome.
Still get paint under my fingernails.
There you go. It's very broad, the range of your experience.
Yeah.
And what do you say is what drives you into the next thing, into the next thing, into the next thing?
Well, it's funny, I've always put faith in two things: the materials I'm working with, and so I've always
Mm-hmm.
tried, whether I'm working digitally or porn paint, like let some character of the medium come through. Don't try to hide it. Some artists are all
Mm-hmm.
about modeling something so perfectly that you don't even know a human made it. And to me, I'm the opposite. I want to be messy. I
Mm-hmm.
want to have drips
Mm-hmm.
and color that spills outside the line, because it's like that's a
Uh-huh.
human made this. And but it's
Mm-hmm.
also how you show the character of, whether it's a smudge brush on Procreate, or um, scumbling paint around on a surface. That's where the character comes
Mm-hmm.
from. And every exploration has led to new exploration. So if something captures my interest and I feel like I don't understand it, I might lean into it for a while, so I feel more like I know what I'm doing there, and that
Mm-hmm.
usually sets me down a path. And knock wood, I haven't had too many dry periods where I felt like I don't know what to make. Um, in fact, I usually suffer from too many ideas. I mean,
Mm.
and so I've played around with mechanical ideas using the 3D printer and making some things in clockwork. Um,
Mm-hmm.
to and there's always the writing. It's another way to express. It
Mm-hmm.
lets me emotions into things,
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
to the serial. I like the
Mm-hmm.
silly,
And
and
animation.
yeah, animation too.
Right. And
I only
animation,
wish that
yeah, I
animation
was
was
just thinking
so
about
long.
that.
I love to animate, but and I approach it, most of the animation, the old school hand drawn frame at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and so that takes a long time. Um,
Yeah.
but I got Blender on my computer for 3D. I got Flip a Clip on my
Mm.
iPad for more old school style, um,
Mm-hmm.
and bring them together.
Wow. But I like what you said, the messiness, It's I think that there's especially when it comes to traditional work, there's like a I don't want to say intimate, but there is some kind of relationship between the person, the artist, and the materials when you allow it to get messy.
Yeah, and I think it lets you develop your intuition when you're working, because I'm,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the background I had coming out of math, and around a
Mm-hmm.
few New York critics in the early days, lean onto this like over intellectualized everything. I mean, if you saw
Mm-hmm.
my MA thesis paper, like I needed to have the dictionary on hand to read my own paper, because
Mm-hmm.
I was using every $3 word in the book,
Mm-hmm.
and going into these and my rhinos and my silly characters gave me a way to kind of just a lot at and get back to what made me happy, what brought joy. And I just put faith,
Mm-hmm.
like, if that gives me a smile, then hopefully someone else a smile. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
like one of the most consistent feedbacks I've had over the last 10, 15 years is that people get a lot of joy out of the work.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you know, really, what more do you want? It's
Right.
other than fame and fortune.
Right. I was gonna say other than big checks, so that you don't have to do the things that are not just the
Right.
fun. I mean, the websites are cool, the graphic design, yeah, but sometimes as creatives we take those on to handle the bills
Yeah, yeah. And
more so
I
than
know
the
you, like,
experience.
you roll in media. You've had the
Mm-hmm.
tattoo gun out. You've had the tablets. You've
Mm-hmm.
had, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I know you know what I'm talking about. Yet we're
Yeah.
back to that pencil, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So
That's right.
you know
Yeah.
that's
It.
your anchor, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that to build on a confidence in whatever it is that you feel that connection with, it lets you explore not from the like, I got to learn and copy everyone else, but more from the what can I take from this to add to what I
Mm-hmm.
and I think that at some point, an artist has to make that decision where I'm not a student anymore. That doesn't mean you stop, but
That's right.
become the sovereign of your own work. And if you don't hit that, I used to teach a little group back in Baltimore, just met in my own studio, and I had someone who was just drew beautifully, but she could never let go of needing an assignment. She just something about her always held herself back from taking on both the responsibility and freedom of saying this is my work. And so she was always taking class after class after class everywhere.
Yeah.
The skills were all there, but like she needed to push herself off the cliff, And
Right.
that's a piece of the puzzle,
Right. Right.
And
I had hung out in well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's me with how much we're suffocated by social media, because social media leans and favors certain types of safe bets. It brings common denominators to the top, and it's not. I mean, the skill of these people is astronomical, but what you got to ask in some of these cases is the soul there. What are they bringing beyond the last person who had that virtuoso skill? What are they saying with it? And I don't think social media is friendly to that.
Right.
Obviously there are exceptions,
No,
and
it's
I don't mean to belittle
sure.
any, but I think if you're a young artist and you're planning on being as great as I am, you gotta say, who am I and what have I got to say? So
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
look at
So
me.
yes, we're the exception of that, but but yes, you're correct. It's like you have to bring of yourself into this art. The art is a relationship between that what's been said, or the process, or the creative experience, and that person who's having that experience. And so that's when you bring of yourself. That's when the painting that you would do, that I would also do at the same time, together in the same room, would be different and have a different flavor.
Absolutely.
Just because if we would take that experience for ourselves. Correct. Yeah.
And I think for myself, and I think this has
that's
probably been true for at least 30 years, it's not just that I make work from a place of thinking that we need more love in the world, but that there's more love in the world than I think there is. There's more you can have empathy for that other person, but it means you gotta sometimes let them down. You gotta sometimes give someone patience, and playing around with a lot of this, childlike imagery, I think helps people take the defenses down. And if they can feel something that makes them feel good when they see it, even if they can't articulate what it is, then maybe they're carrying that to their next encounter with somebody else. And if that's the case, I'm happy.
There you go. Yes, yes. I was in Vegas a few years ago and hanging out with an artist there. And they're taking us all around town, showing us all the great street art. And then the artist starts telling us about how they're experimenting with watercolors.
Yeah.
And some of the experiments and stuff. And watercolors is one of those that I just haven't had the time to put in to figure out. It's messy to me. It's just messy on my side. And And I was thinking to myself, well, why you spending your money, wasting your time on that, and then later on, I kept thinking about it, and I didn't say anything to him though. I was just thinking it in my head, that because you want to, art materials are not cheap, so
Right.
you want to maximize what you get to do
That is too true.
with the art materials. Yeah, yeah. And so, but then later on, I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I think it's about the experience. Let's see what happens, because
Yeah.
sometimes that's how I am with the pencil, with the brush. It's like, I really don't know, but let me try some scribbles and see what ends up happening here and what I see. And it's really about the experience at that time, and the patience, the love, the relationship of the artist and the materials together.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think you get in there and give yourself license to play. And sometimes I think artists get like, I got to do this so I can do the next art market or prepare for the show, or I'm doing this illustration for the client. And like, they never feel like they get to play anymore. And when the time is there, then they're like, I'm tired. I don't want to waste money on this material. Play. Started,
Play.
How many of us started because we were doodling in our notebook and listening in class? We were playing. And it was fun.
Right.
And, it
Right.
let us open up to something. So reconnect with that. And I bet after playing with some watercolor, you go back to that, soft brush and Procreate, and you different. You look for something different from it, because now you different experience you brought to it that didn't have an agenda.
That's good. That's it. So, talking about Procreate, and you mentioned the iPad and tablets. Tell us about your current tools.
All right.
that you're using.
It's funny. I mentioned Procreate a lot just because I know it's the program a lot of people use. I've played with it. I tend, when I open up my iPad, to go to Sketchbook, because it's like so many tools in Procreate. I open it up and I go, But what I'm doing, I'm not fussy about like trying to surface the way that someone else might be. I want to see, like, I'm trying to develop my own language there. So I'm trying to come at that a little differently. I'll use Vectornator somewhat on the iPad too. And then, I got some filters and things I play around with. On the desktop these days, I've been using Krita a lot. I got a Huon tablet. It's off screen here to my right. And, it gives me a little room to stretch out. And Pixelmator Pro is pretty cool. But I'm Photoshop and Illustrator and use those quite a bit. I wanted to explore other tools. My only beef with Krita really is fear is kind of and some trying to do a layout with my illustration, and it's a little bit clunky. So I solved that problem. But in terms of painting, a lot of textures, a lot of room. I think it's a pretty cool program.
Yeah. There's a ton of programs.
Yeah. Flip a Clip for animation. Like I said, hand-drawn animation. And I just got Toon Squid. I'm trying to, because that'd be able to do some rigging. And I got Blender. I do, like I said, I make some 3D models and some kind of like, I guess you'd call them motion graphics. They're abstract, sort of kinetic. And along with that, Tinkercad for some 3D. It's just a lot faster environment to make a 3D for printing. And, those are probably the things I use the most.
It's a lot. That's a lot of programs. But that's what's great about it is that, this some of these are free.
Yeah.
like Krita, Sketchbook, Blender. Is it Blender free? I think Blender
Yeah.
is free. Yep.
Blender's totally free.
Like
You know,
yeah,
give your
yeah.
computer a workout, but
Right.
um,
But that's it. It's like there's tools available
yeah,
for us. You don't have to go what everybody what's most popular or
yeah. And Toon
the
Squid is
leading.
cheap. You know, Flip a Clip I think is
Uh-huh.
$20, $10, something like that. So you know, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously out there that will drain your wallet, and we won't name any
Mm-hmm.
names, but you know, but as you say, you know, physical materials aren't cheap. You got to, you know, invest in
Yeah.
yourself. But at the same time, if you can't afford it, find a way. You know, I mean, find a way
Right.
to buy it. Find a way to make the work you need to make. Because you
Right.
know,
That's true.
I used to draw with office supplies. You know, I'd get a stack of index cards and a
Mm-hmm.
couple markers at Staples, and I made
Mm-hmm.
1,000 drawings that way. So
Yeah.
you know,
Full art exhibit.
yeah. So you know, if you got something inside, you find a way
Mm-hmm.
to make it. And you know, I love having
Mm-hmm.
my tablet now, but I wanted one for years. and
Mm-hmm.
you just
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
just put it away and but
That's right. No, that's true. It's you know, I always tell artists when they ask like, what's the best tablet or what should I want to start my art career? What should I have? What should I get? I say a stack of paper and number two pencils.
yep,
You know,
get you
you
started.
know,
You know,
get that practice in. That's right. Get that creativity flowing. Get that creative exploration going, and then you'll see. Oh, okay, I've reached my limit with this.
yeah,
Now I have an idea of what I would like to get. You know.
yeah. It's a big difference between getting something because you think you're supposed to have it and getting something because you know what you want to do
Mm-hmm.
with it. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's good. There is an Toon Squid. I tried Toon Squid. I like that app because it's very flexible with frames. You can stack frames and you can stack layers in each frame.
yeah,
So that's been super awesome to me. I can never get my figure out flip a clip, but I'm not an animator. I just like playing around.
yeah.
And then there's another one that just launched this full version of it's an animation app, Calipeg, something like that.
I
And so everybody's raving about it, and so might
I
have to
opened
check it
that
out.
one up and I didn't feel connected with it, but you know,
Okay.
sometimes you know, like these days, a lot of people like to communicate on Discord. Every time I open
Mm-hmm.
Discord, I just want to scream because I hate that interface. It like it makes me physically upset to look at all this chaotic mess and try to figure out what's going on. And
Uh huh.
you know, a couple groups I got to be on there and chat. Like, oh, why we got to do this here?
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I was talking to another artist earlier today, and he mentioned MySpace, and it's like the reality is that ever so often there's gonna be another platform
yeah,
and another platform and another platform, and so you're chasing the whole group across
yeah, yeah.
different platforms, and
I think
so
we're overdue for a new platform, but that's you know,
yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody already ready to launch it.
yep.
So let's talk about NFTs. Why not? You know,
Yeah,
it's a
sure.
dirty word. There's a lot of dirty words going on right now, though. It's
Well, look at
AI
it.
is another dirty word.
What's that?
Go ahead. I said AI is another dirty word happening right
Oh
now.
yeah, no, for that a little bit too. So with the NFTs, it just kind of came down to me like I'm filling up my iPad's memory with drawings. They don't have
Mm-hmm.
a physical original. I mean, I can have a print made
Mm-hmm.
or put it on a piece of merch, but why not put it on an NFT too? It's a digital media, it's a digital place.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't going into it like going after these Bored Ape Yacht Club PFP type things, but I did take a
Mm-hmm.
workshop. I got into a sort of 6-week seminar thing, and I'm still in touch with all those people. And so it was worth it to me because I made some friends, sold a
Mm-hmm.
couple things, nothing to brag about. I certainly, not like Beetle,
Mm-hmm. Right.
which, would love to have something hit like that, but
Mm-hmm.
um, but the other thing about it is it let me do some things like recite a poem, make a little video to go with it, put it all together in a bundle. And instead of it just sitting on Instagram where it gets 4 people's attention, it's also got this
Mm-hmm.
other place to live. And,
Right.
it's a long term. I don't know if it'll ever pan out, but I don't think the
Mm-hmm.
blockchain technology is going away. The
Mm-hmm.
hype train broke, and that's a good thing in the long run. But something's going to settle out of that
Mm-hmm.
because there are functional uses for the technology, so there will always be supplemental uses. Same thing with
Right. Right.
AI's, crazier, a little scarier. It encroaches on a lot of different things, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
interesting as a tool. I think we're in a period of novelty fad, and that will
Mm-hmm.
subside where a lot of people are using it. And at first you say, oh, that's cool. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, that looks like it's AI. That looks like it's AI.
Right.
And hopefully you're not doing a disservice to someone who actually did it by hand. But,
Right.
they all look different, but they
Mm-hmm.
all look the same.
Mm-hmm.
But flip side of that, I've used it. I've played with it. I want to understand it. The two places where I feel most comfortable using it are like, I don't love just give it a prompt and here's a picture and I say that's mine. That just doesn't feel like
Mm-hmm.
I've put enough of myself in. But if I've got a
Mm-hmm.
poem and I've got some imagery in mind to create to go with the poem, then I do feel
Mm-hmm.
like I've put something of myself in. The other thing I've been
Mm-hmm.
playing with a little bit is AI and collage. So I create separate images with AI and then kind of take them into the lab and collage them and, in Krita or something like that and add some of
Mm-hmm.
my hand in there and bring different shapes
Mm-hmm.
together. So it's now not much different than if I cut up a bunch of magazines and hang around with that.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
you
Right.
know, but that's a personal thing. That's how I feel like I've got some
Mm-hmm.
authorship in it. Otherwise, to me, it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of hollow and meaningless. But that
Mm-hmm.
some people love it and are exploring it. And if you haven't played with it, you won't know where it's quick and easy and where it's harder than you think. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you played with it. If you got something in mind, finding that right prompt and how many iterations you got to go through to get to do what you were trying to do isn't exactly a straight
Mm-hmm.
line. Um,
Right. Right.
so,
Right.
but it's only going to get better. And
Mm-hmm.
the scariest part of it, we're seeing baby steps today. And that's
Mm-hmm.
about the
Mm-hmm.
writing, that's about the art, that's about, and one of these days someone's going to get clever and connect it up to a machine that squirts out oil paint or, puts its hand on a physical
Right.
chisel in some marble and, watch out, they got AI
Mm-hmm. Yep.
poetry that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's all coming. And that brings up a lot of
Mm-hmm.
philosophical questions about, but I think, lawyers should be scared. I think there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of middlemen jobs where AI is going to start being like, corporation says, yeah, I can
Yeah.
reduce salaries and strange
Yeah.
times are coming.
Make some Hallmark. Yeah. Make some Hallmark cards.
Yeah.
A ton of Hallmark cards ready to go.
Yep.
Don't need to have to pay anybody to write them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see
But
that. I can see
I
that.
think
But,
that creates a hunger, as the more things get automated and watered down, that there's always going to be some people who hunger for the and humanity.
mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure. I mean, there's fans of oil paintings. There's fans of watercolor paintings. There's still fans of
Mm-hmm.
things that have been done by hand for thousands and thousands of years. So you know, I read a story about restoring medieval aged buildings and stuff, and like there's a handmade process for that. You can't use machines. You don't want to use machines because you want to restore it to the quality that it once was,
Yeah.
and the machines are just kind of, it's like a shortcut, and you need real artisans and masons and so on. And so I think that that's never gonna go away. It's never gonna go away. But as an artist, without touching on what's gonna happen in the future, because nobody knows. We're just here for the ride
Yep.
and see what happens. But as an artist, we should still know what it's like, and the NFTs is like that. For me, I am dabbling in AI just to see what to do with it. Not nothing that I have a big idea on, but I am
Mhm.
trying out some of the tools because you should know what it's like. Just like going from
Right.
a pencil to a marker. Well, what's it like to use a marker? What's it like to use a paintbrush? And so you should know as an artist. You should try out the tools and then find out if you like it, if you don't like it. But after you
Yeah.
tried it.
You live in these
Hmm.
times. No one person can do everything, but before you judge too hard, NFTs make you angry. Ask yourself why it's making you so angry. Is it really about the NFTs, or is it, are you concerned about protecting your turf, or
Hmm.
because that, if you come and make your peace with NFTs, there'll be something else that triggers you for that other thing, whether it's someone you're competing with or some, oh,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
comic book companies are farming out, drawing to India to, well, they're taking my job away. Hey, it's the world. Nobody promised you
Right.
anything. So if you're not doing it because you want to be doing it, there's always going to be someone to get angry at, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Right. Right.
and NFT is
Right.
easy because it's got no face, you know.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we have to be careful of those things of that make us angry or divide the community.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, man, we're all artists. Some artists have more experience than others. Some artists have an idea of what they're doing versus others. But at the end of the day, we should protect the community because we're all here to experience art and grow. And you never know how, just like you mentioned this earlier, being nice. If you're just nice, spread a little love.
Yeah.
And
Nice
that's
doesn't
it. That's
mean
what
you're
that's
not
what art
protecting
should be.
yourself. Sometimes I think people think
Mm-hmm.
nice means I'm being a patsy or, naive. No, yeah, I've been
Mm-hmm.
around the block, but that doesn't mean I got to approach everything defensively. You know,
Right. 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 Mm-hmm.
um, I got my boundaries that, you know, I won't let people cross,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean I want to give things a chance. And, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you get to be my age, you can't keep up with everything. I mean, I wish I could be out there doing like painting the tunnels and
Mm-hmm.
getting getting some stuff on the walls. Like I can't go up and down a ladder like that anymore. I can't.
Yeah.
Cops come a rolling. I'm not running. Those snake cans, are they mine?
Yeah.
They were just there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I,
Right. Right.
you know, there's a physical patient there. I got a bad back, but I can at least get on my computer. I can on the internet. I can see different things, different trends, and maybe I don't want to do them, but I want to be
Mm-hmm.
informed. I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
until I can't understand it anymore, and the drool's just coming
Mm-hmm.
out. I want to be absorbing
Right.
because
Right.
I never know what's the thing that's
Experience
going
art.
to make me like say, yeah, I want to put some of that in what I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm. Right. Sure. Sure. So I think Instagram keeps showing me some of your poetry. I
Yeah,
can't
I've been
even
posting a lot there.
remember. Mm-hmm.
And but you know,
Where else do you post?
so you know, I've got some videos of some readings on YouTube. I need to do more of that. I put everything on Twitter too. Uh,
Okay.
NFTs seem to be more of a Twitter world, and I tell you, the coolest things that happened in the last year is exploring Twitter NFT spaces. I found a ton of writing spaces, and I feel like I found a whole
Oh.
community of poets and really cool
Mm-hmm.
people from around the world. I mean, literally, I was on with someone who was, you know, they were in Africa and someone else was in India and someone was in England and three
Mm-hmm.
of us were in the States. And for one person it was 5 a.m. when it was like,
Yeah. Right.
but, you know, it was really cool. And they were genuine, generous people. And, you know, every once in a while someone tries to come in the space and shill their nonsense, but you kick them out. And I never would have found that if it wasn't for the NFT
Uh-huh.
community. And most of these people aren't into NFTs, but there was enough overlap that I found that, and that's been some
Mm-hmm.
of the most fun uh, in terms of like new input in my life in the last year. So
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
I think you know Mick took my already hermit-like tendencies and made them worse. You know, I you know I'm
Yeah.
a weird guy. Like I love people one on one, but I'll find a million excuses
Mm-hmm.
not to go out to the thing. You know, it's just who I am.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, you know, I don't get around as many places and hang out. And you know, I used to do my drawing group and haven't done that in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of forced me to at least once a week get out there and bounce off some other artists. But
Mm-hmm.
so it's been in the Twitter spaces. There's a guy, he goes by Peter the Soap Man. He hosts a monthly meetup with Atlanta illustrators, and they
Mm.
go online, and it's like a critique group. You upload a file,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, they go around the horn, and everyone feedback. So if you're in Atlanta and some of that, you want to, that's on Meetup. And they also
Okay.
do a live in-person get-together once a month, which they've been mostly doing at Monday Night Brewing. But if
Hmm.
you look for Peter the Soap Man on Instagram, he's a cool dude. And
Soap like the wash soap
yeah,
or Peter the.
let me see if I can get you his handle correctly because I say he's a good
Mm-hmm.
guy. Um,
Man, when you mentioned the pandemic, it changed a lot about how we do things in real life, but
yeah.
I think it made the world smaller because of the interconnections
Well, could you
that we
imagine if the
built.
pandemic like hadn't made Zoom big and you know this tool we're using Restream would not have probably been even known if Zoom hadn't gotten big. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
Peter the Soap Man, all is one word is his handle.
Okay.
And
Yes. Yes, I found him. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
All right,
like I said,
found
he
him in
hosts that
let's see his.
on Meetup. It's like Atlanta Illustrators Group or something like that.
Okay.
And you know, Empire Arts Gallery's got a few of my things, and Bookish, little bookstore has a few things. Uh, you know, here and there, I had some stuff. There was a little gallery for a short period of time at Underground that had a few things. So you know,
Mm-hmm.
I truck out every once in a while. Rarely, but occasionally do a pop up. Um, and of course, I got my
Hmm.
books on Amazon. Color Me with Hugs is on Amazon, and
Oh, right, right, right.
working on a couple more ideas in that direction. I definitely like in the next few years to have a few more out there, both with poetry and
Mm-hmm.
illustrations. Um, uh, yeah,
Yeah.
we see what comes.
Slowly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Slowly get out the hermit cave. It's beautiful looking hermit cave. Okay.
But you know, it's comfortable, man.
Yeah.
That's That's good and bad.
Right.
While the tablet's here, you know, it's a little
Mm-hmm.
too easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was a meme that said that was talking about being because of the pandemic, you're stuck at home, and then somebody was asking, well, what is there to do at home? And then so the person, the meme video was about, well, you know, showing off their living room, showing off, you know, their playroom, their kitchen, like they got stuff in there.
Yeah.
You know, eventually as time goes on, you bring your creature comforts to yourself. You don't have to spend money going to different locations, different places, hanging out at clubs or whatever, lounges.
Yeah.
And you bring that stuff home.
Yeah, no, it's like
You bring it home.
the computer's here, the tablet's here, the scroll saw is there, the 3D printer's over there. You know, I can do things, you know.
Yeah.
I got easels,
I'm busy.
you know.
Right.
I'm certainly more ideas than energy.
Mm-hmm.
I try.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta take my
Yes.
vitamins.
That's the thing, right? Yeah. Need more time in the day. More time in the day. Oh, this is super awesome. We're going to include a lot of your links
Sweet.
in the description of the video so people can find you.
I appreciate it.
And including your NFTs. Man, I love the work you do. I still admire the effort of drawing 1,000 drawings and then hanging them up at Hodgepodge. Many years ago, it's like, you know, who would have... yeah. Like, who
I
would have
remember
thunk
the
of
first
that?
time you and I chatted there, because that was when that was like your second office for a while, was Hodgepodge. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's like, who's this guy? You know, we started talking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that was a good
Yeah.
time. And yeah, I put 1,000. That show actually ended up being 1,100 drawings, and that was like, of a total, when I was doing them on the index cards, I think I did 5,000 total, which was
What?
you know, very spontaneous. You know, I don't want people to get a misconception about, you know, very improvised, very spontaneous work. That was the nature of it. And that was by design.
Right.
I recognized in myself that as a draftsman, I was very heavy-handed. And instead of trying to fight it, I said, what happens if I lean into that? And that's when I put down the pencil and picked up a Sharpie and said, can't erase a Sharpie. So let's see what happens
Right.
when you make that your tool. And I think that was a very critical point in developing my style, whatever that is, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. It's awesome. But you're right. Like, that's it. You commit. When you're using a marker versus a pencil, you can kind of at least try to erase it or draw lightly and
And
get
digital,
the line where
about
you
it.
want.
Like you're a million undos, or you know.
Yeah.
Actually, we were joking
Yeah.
about, because someone was showing something, and they wanted to show it two ways, and then they realized they had collapsed the two layers. And isn't that always the case that you merge the layers that later on you were like, oh, why did I do that? You know?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, digital gives you tons of redoability. Not a Sharpie.
Right. No, that's it. You go in on it and that's it. Yes. Yes. Well, like I said, we're going to share everything. Love your work. Big fan. Love your art style. I think it's like magic. Looking at your birds, looking at your bunnies. It's like magic. Because it's just a couple of lines like this. It's like, yeah, that looks like a bunny. I love it, brother.
Good,
I love it. Thank you so much. Well,
thank you
for hanging out with us today.
With you, and just fun to be here, and love to your wife, and because I know that's where the power is. And
that's right. The Artist King podcast is made possible by the support of our sponsors, Azalea Creative Group, Sketchable Plus, and Visual Artworks. Once again, I am DTM, and I look forward to sharing the business of art with you. Until next time, stay creative.